While the state is this morning expected to call a ballistic expert to stand to testify in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial in the High Court in Pretoria, 5 men are on trial for the murder of the soccer star who was shot and killed in 2014. Meyiwa was at his girlfriend's home, Kelly Khumalo, in Vosloorus, east of Johannesburg, when he was shot. Yesterday, Dr. Johannes Steenekamp, a forensic pathologist, told the High Court Meyiwa survived seconds or even minutes after being shot at close range. Steenekamp also gave disturbing evidence of what led to the death of the soccer star. For more on what to expect on today's proceedings, we are joined by SABC News reporter Chriselda Lewis. Chriselda, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. Let's start off with that testimony yesterday from Dr. Johannes Steenekamp and the issues that he is raising there, and also the point that's being made where that gunshot would have been coming from, the back or the front, as this is a contentious issue.
Well, that's right, Aldrin. Pathologist Dr. Johannes Steenekamp, who performed the autopsy on the former Bafana captain Senzo Meyiwa, testified that Meyiwa was shot at close range and, as you indicated, could only have survived seconds or minutes after being shot. This post-mortem was done 2 days after Meyiwa was killed. The bullet movement, from what we're hearing from Steenekamp, is that he described it as having gone through his body in a downward trajectory away from the midline of his body. During his examination, Dr. Steenekamp said Meyiwa had bled excessively internally, and his right chest cavity contained about 1,700 milliliters of free and clotted blood. That was internal blood loss, Aldrin, from the vicinity of his heart and lungs, and that his right lung had partially collapsed. He'd bled into the chest cavity, is what we heard. He testified that when he opened that wound, he noticed something black, which is consistent with gun residue. He said that the wound is consistent with a contact bullet entrance wound, this meaning that the gun was against Meyiwa's chest. Steenekamp also revealed that there were clearly resuscitation attempts, Aldrin. This was, of course, at the Butsilong hospital that Meyiwa was taken to, and he said this is based on the ECG stickers that were found on his chest. However, that was obviously a little bit too late, Aldrin. As Steenekamp says, Meyiwa could have only survived those seconds or minutes after being shot. Steenekamp also saying that Meyiwa would have started bleeding immediately after the bullet had exited his body at the back. And these details are, Aldrin, revealed as some of the Meyiwa family members were also inside court. They just looked on as Steenekamp was giving those graphic details of his examination of Meyiwa's body. Some of the accused, I often looked back to see what their reaction would be, also kept looking down as these details were being laid bare. This morning, correctly pointed out, the ballistics expert is expected on the stand on the gun linked to Meyiwa's death. This is very crucial testimony there, Aldrin. And indeed, the question that you also asked was pertaining to whether Meyiwa had been shot from the front or the back. In fact, there was a question that was posed in cross-examination yesterday by Advocate Charles Mnisi, who represents accused number 3, Mthobisi Mncube, in which he basically asked Steenekamp, according to his examination or the post-mortem or autopsy that he had done on Meyiwa's body, what would his findings be consistent with? You would know, of course, he put a number of scenarios that were put by several witnesses when they testified about where Meyiwa was standing when the so-called scuffle had been taking place inside the house. This is after the 2 alleged intruders had entered the home. And the different scenarios that he gave, what Dr. Steenekamp is basically saying is that it's impossible that Meyiwa would have been shot from the back. According to his examination and what he found with his multiple years of experience as a forensic pathologist, as far as he's concerned, Meyiwa was shot from the front, here on the chest, at close range, and even at some point, judging by how that examination was conducted, there's also a possibility that Meyiwa would have tried to push the gun down from this area where the gun had been pointed at close range. So these are really graphic details, that emerged inside this court. We've also been quite careful not to use particular sound bites, which would really give a disturbing account of exactly what happened in his body after that bullet had entered his body at close range, as we're hearing from Dr. Steenekamp. And today, more crucial evidence, Aldrin. The ballistics expert is expected to link the type of gun that was used in the killing of Senzo Meyiwa. We'll probably get some clarity today on, exactly what type of firearm it was used, judging by what it is that they examined when they went to the ballistics center to go and do these tests that are usually done. And if at all, the gun that was found in possession of Mthobisi Mncube, you would recall, this has been a bone of contention over the past couple of days. Remember that Mthobisi Mncube, accused number 3, had been arrested in 2015 on a different charge related to the unlawful possession of a firearm and ammunition. That gun had been linked to a taxi violence incident in Alexandra, a murder that had taken place there, for which Mncube was convicted. So now, what we will hear from this ballistics expert is that, you would recall, we've also heard a testimony from the storage manager with the South African Police Service where these exhibits are stored. We also heard that at some point that a ballistics expert, Chris Mangena, had deposed of an affidavit at some point, and it basically said that the forensic bag in which this gun had been stored was unsealed at some point when he went to go and pick it up at the storage facility. So there's lots of details that we're expecting, and what exactly was linked, to the killing of Meyiwa, what type of firearm was used to shoot Meyiwa dead. So very crucial details we're expecting from the ballistics expert here this morning. We start at 10 o'clock, also streaming on the SABC's YouTube page and also on SABC Plus.
And do stay tuned for that as we give you an update on the court case of the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. And as Chriselda Lewis has indicated there, we expect the testimony from a ballistic expert just after 10 o'clock.